Elon Musk, you didn't create U.S. aid. The United States Congress did for the American people. And just like Elon Musk did not create U.S. aid, he doesn't have the power to destroy it. And who's going to stop him? We are. We're going to stop him. Elon Musk, you may have illegally seized power over the financial payment systems of the United States Department of Treasury, but you don't control the money of the American people. The United States Congress does that under Article 1 of the Constitution.
Imagine walking into a debate thinking you're the smartest person in the room, only to realize Jamie Raskin brought the intellectual flamethrower. That's exactly what happened when the congressman took Elon Musk to task on live TV. It wasn't just a takedown, it was a masterclass in verbal jujitsu. Musk, usually the king of comebacks, found himself outmaneuvered, outwitted, and, dare we say, momentarily speechless. Was it a policy? Was it ethics? Was it Raskin's unmatched ability to turn facts into daggers? Whatever it was, the internet is still recovering. If you missed it, brace yourself, because we just got started.
He's a multi-billion-dollar government contractor who just spent hundreds of millions of dollars to get his pet candidate elected, but he's also apparently been talking about taking a job running an efficiency commission. Well, if you take a job with the government and you sell your private holdings, you don't have to pay a capital gains tax at that moment.
Elon Musk, the kind of guy who would buy Twitter just to start a new social media platform for Mars, walks into the debate stage with the swagger of someone who's used to being both loved and loathed by 1 billion people. He probably thought he'd have the crowd eating out of his hand, delivering one of his signature sound bites that would have them lining up for a Tesla by the end of the show.
Thinking about and talking to my friends at Democracy Defenders and other lawyers about is, could there be a nationwide class action lawsuit to follow up on last week's victories against Musk, against the Trump administration for this breach in computer security and the data of all American taxpayers? It could be a class action suit on behalf of all Americans. Really, it's a suit on behalf of everybody, because that's our information.
Standing in his way with a stare sharp enough to cut through steel is Jamie Raskin, a man whose idea of a good time isn't launching a rocket, but dismantling flawed arguments with the grace of a surgeon wielding a scalpel. Musk, ready for a conversation about the future, didn't realize he was about to get schooled in the politics of the present. Raskin wasn't there for the spectacle. He wasn't trying to launch anything. Where Musk saw an opportunity to wow, Raskin saw an opportunity to remind the billionaire that even in the world of cutting-edge innovation, the rules of reality, ethics, and basic logic still apply.
Despondent as it is, we need to be very clear about what's going on. And I think the easiest way to wrap your head around it is that this is a coup, which is a seizure of state power by unelected actors, by taking control over the central institutions and functions of government. So Elon Musk has essentially seized control over the financial payment systems of the US government.
Musk's confidence was palpable, as if being the richest person on Earth somehow made his arguments bulletproof. But Raskin wasn't buying it. He wasn't impressed by a guy who thought buying Twitter was the answer to the world's problems, or that populating Mars was somehow a valid defense for whatever he was about to say. The real battle began when Musk started spitting out half-baked ideas like they were his life's work, as if a billion-dollar company is the ultimate stamp of wisdom.
And just like the president who is elected to something cannot impound the money of the people, we don't have a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk. And that's going to become real clear. This illegal, unconstitutional interference with congressional power is threatening lives all over the world. I'm hearing from my constituents who work for USAID and USAID contractors in Maryland, in Washington, all over the world, and they're telling us that this is a killer in terms of their cutoff of the HIV and AIDS preemption.
Raskin, though, wasn't fazed. He listened, waited, then hit Musk with a smile that screamed, "You don't know what's coming." It wasn't just about tech or money or flashy headlines. No, this was deeper. It was about who controls the narrative, who gets to shape the future, and whether or not a man who made his fortune on tech innovation actually understood the nuanced mess that is human society.
There is a serial constitutional violator at large right now in the District of Columbia, whose overall project to dismantle our Constitution and rule of law is now the target or subject of at least a dozen different federal court temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions across the land, and also faces emergency civil actions in dozens of other courts and jurisdictions. The suspect has been described as a very evil individual by Steve Bannon.
Musk had a tendency to pivot quickly, which was impressive, until it wasn't. He'd boldly say that we should all just trust the free market and let the innovators do their thing, but Raskin wasn't buying it. You could almost hear him thinking, free market? More like free for all. Each of Musk's turns in the debate felt like a new tech pitch, but Raskin was hitting him with facts like a calculator at a blackjack table, unforgiving and precise. As the discussion morphed from high-flying idealism to grounded pragmatism, Musk began to realize that no amount of flashy tech talk was going to get him out of this one. It wasn't that Musk didn't have answers, he had plenty. The problem was his answers were more like, "I'll figure it out later," than actual solutions. And Raskin was there to point out the flaws in the so-called brilliance of Musk's thinking. Each time Musk tried to sidestep, Raskin would gently pull him back, explaining why Mars wasn't the answer to every earthly problem, especially when the planet they were standing on was in dire need of fixing.
Got a stop work order from Elon Musk. The billionaire plutocrats want to dismantle the EPA, which protects our air and water, and the NIH, which promotes life-saving scientific and medical research. Yesterday, Donald Trump banned the Associated Press, a 179-year-old newspaper organization, from the White House because it declines to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Musk wasn't just defeated by facts, he was defeated by the notion that there's more to changing the world than just having the biggest checkbook. Raskin reminded him that ideas can be revolutionary without needing to be wrapped in a spaceship. The tech world might admire disruption, but the political world demands accountability, and Raskin was more than ready to provide it. One fact at a time. The stakes were high, but to Raskin, it was business as usual. He wasn't just some guy looking to make a name on TV. He was a congressman with a background in constitutional law, ready to serve up a reality check like it was a 5-star dinner. Raskin had the patience of a chess grandmaster and the precision of a surgeon, but with one difference. He wasn't out to win some trophy, he was there to make a point. While Musk probably thought he was going to casually flex his tech dominance, Raskin was already 10 steps ahead, calculating how to slice through those tech bro ideologies like they were made of butter. Musk was all about shaking up the world with bold, revolutionary ideas, but Raskin was about to shake up Musk's entire worldview.
AID yesterday. Anybody go to USAID to defend the federal workers? And I saw Elon Musk tweeted out a picture of a non-violent, boisterous rally saying, "Looks like an insurrection to me," he said. You know, and in his native apartheid South Africa, that might have looked like an insurrection to him, because the authoritarians don't know the difference between an insurrection and a non-violent popular protest, okay?
While Musk was busy imagining a future of electric cars and self-landing rockets, Raskin was grounded in the present, like, say, the Constitution and the rules that govern a democratic society. Musk's approach to solving every problem with innovation might work in Silicon Valley, but it didn't fly when dealing with the messy complexities of real-world governance, and Raskin was prepared to school him on that. Every time Musk tossed out a flashy concept, Raskin would calmly reach into his bag of well-researched, no-nonsense facts. Musk could talk about Mars all day long, but Raskin's world had a few more layers, like, democracy, accountability, and ethics. With every claim Musk made, Raskin would remind him that tech can't exist in a vacuum. You can't just create the future while ignoring the past and the present, and definitely not while forgetting the laws that govern the country. What was Musk's strategy? Musk seemed convinced that his wealth and tech savviness made him immune to scrutiny. After all, who could question a man who owned the keys to the future?
Where everybody gets health care and everybody can work and everybody has access to decent environment with a casino economy. And that's what they believe in. And they're doing the same thing to our politics. Instead of having a politics where we actually debate issues and talk about policy and have meaningful discussion, they want to destroy all of that, destroy policy platforms, destroy discussion, and instead turn it into a big raffle run by a billionaire.
But Raskin, with his calm demeanor and sharp intellect, showed him that it wasn't just about having the right ideas, it was about having the right way to execute them. He wasn't trying to tear Musk down for fun. He was aiming to expose the logical cracks in Musk's brilliant theories with the cold, unyielding weight of facts. And when facts are your weapon, the stakes get really high for anyone relying on hot air and ambition. Musk entered the ring like a boxer who had already imagined himself holding the championship belt, delivering his opening statements with the kind of swagger usually reserved for guys who drive cars that are faster than most small countries. He started off with his classic style, big, bold, sweeping generalizations about the future of humanity, spitting out phrases like disrupting industries and changing the world, as if those words alone could silence any challenger. He didn't need evidence. He was Elon Musk, after all. Surely his tech credentials would bulldoze any argument Raskin had, right?
Where are you on this negotiation?
We had many weeks of negotiation with the Republicans. We arrived at a bipartisan legislative compromise. The Senate Democrats, the Senate Republicans, the House Democrats, the House Republicans, everybody agreed. And then it was blown up by Elon Musk, who apparently has become the fourth branch of government. And that's just an intolerable way of proceeding under representative democracy. So the Democrats are going to try to figure out how we can salvage the public good out of the wreckage that has just been foisted upon us.
But what Musk didn't account for was that Raskin wasn't there to be swept up in the hype. As Musk rambled on about Mars, space exploration, and electric cars, essentially ticking off the classic Musk checklist, Raskin sat back, the calm in the storm. If Musk thought this was going to be a quick win, he had another thing coming. Raskin had the kind of patience that would make a sloth look like a caffeine addict, and he wasn't about to interrupt Musk's glorified TED Talk. Instead, he sat quietly letting Musk dig himself deeper into the land of broad statements and flashy promises. Then came Raskin's moment. With a smile that probably meant, "I'm about to ruin your whole life," he jumped in, casually dismantling Musk's arguments one by one. It was like watching a Jedi calmly deflect laser blasts while the stormtrooper kept missing. Musk's confident swagger, which had seemed so unshakable at first, was starting to look more like a nervous tic. Raskin's approach was like watching a master chef at work, carefully slicing through the layers of Musk's assumptions with precision, not force. It wasn't about attacking Musk, it was about exposing the holes in his reasoning with surgical finesse.
The campaign of vilification has spread to Judge Boasberg's family, including outrageous attacks on his daughter, who's had her photo and her place of work posted on social media by Elon Musk to his 290 million followers. These threats follow an actual bomb threat made to the sister of Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. And there are numerous other threats taking place today. And of course, we've seen threats and actual violence and murders take place in the past. I call on my colleagues right now to call off the campaign to impeach federal judges for doing their jobs.
Where Musk assumed that his tech success was an automatic pass for every argument, Raskin reminded him that being a billionaire doesn't grant you the ability to solve societal problems. Tech and society don't mix as smoothly as Tesla's autopilot system. Musk's idea of disruption was, as Raskin pointed out, dangerously oversimplified. You can't just throw tech at a problem and hope it fixes itself. There are policies, laws, and a hell of a lot of people to consider. And Musk's total disregard for those complexities started to unravel in front of a live audience. Raskin, without raising his voice or breaking a sweat, had completely flipped the script. The narrative, once dominated by Musk's brash confidence, was now being rewritten with every fact and argument Raskin laid out. What started as Musk's moment to shine was quickly becoming Raskin's opportunity to remind everyone that brilliance is nothing without context.
We avoid the constitutional crisis overtaking the first and greatest multiracial, multi-ethnic constitutional democracy on earth, and instead pass completely redundant, unnecessary and sloppily drafted laws that allow us to vote against immigrants, whether documented or undocumented, as Elon Musk was, without either engaging in comprehensive immigration reform or fixing the border.
At first, Musk tried to keep his cool, launching into his usual tech speak, sprinkling in terms like market disruption and scalable innovation as if they were magic words that could hypnotize the audience into forgetting any inconvenient facts. But Raskin wasn't having it. He didn't need to throw around buzzwords. He had something far more lethal: cold, hard facts. With the calm of a man who's been patiently waiting for this moment his entire life, Raskin methodically countered Musk's claims, referencing specific laws, regulations, and the kind of societal impacts Musk conveniently overlooked while gazing at his rocket ships. For every lofty assertion Musk made about tech saving the world, Raskin had a pointed reminder. Sure, innovation's great, but what about corporate responsibility? What about the ethics of monopolies? It wasn't just about launching a new tech product, it was about the ripple effects on communities, workers, and even national economies. Musk's arguments, built on idealism, started to show their cracks as Raskin's barrage of real-world consequences hit home. The crowd, once caught up in Musk's charm and promise of a shiny future, began to sense a shift. Raskin was making sense, uncomfortable, inconvenient sense, and it was starting to land.
Self-appointed CEO of this operation is the unelected bureaucrat and aspiring techno-dictator Elon Musk, who Steve Bannon calls a truly evil individual, trying to create a techno-state in which he's king and most of us are reduced to the status of serfs. Break things and break things fast, Steve Bannon says, is Musk's M.O. De facto President Musk and his nocturnal Doge Muscovite Youth Brigade have now taken control of dozens of federal computer databases in order to dismantle entire federal agencies and programs that we in Congress created.
Musk's calm, collected demeanor began to crack like a Tesla windshield after too many road trips. The deflections that usually worked, those little jokes or dismissive comments, weren't cutting it anymore. Each time Raskin dropped a new fact, Musk's responses became more scattered, less certain. His tech bro bravado started to look less like a strategic move and more like a desperate attempt to hold on to the image of the untouchable genius he'd built for himself. And oh boy, the crowd noticed. You could practically hear the collective gasp as Musk, usually so effortlessly confident, fumbled for his next rebuttal. It became clear. Raskin wasn't just attacking Musk's arguments. He was dismantling the very foundation of Musk's approach to tech. Raskin was grounding abstract ideas into the harsh, unflinching reality that tech can't exist without consequences. The moment Musk tried to brush off his missteps with another joke or an unrelated story, Raskin calmly pulled the conversation back to the issue at hand. By now, Musk wasn't just defending his ideas, he was defending his whole worldview. The balance of power had shifted, and it was getting awkward. Musk wasn't winning this one, not with the facts Raskin was bringing.
If there's a form of government expenditure taking place that we have a problem with, isn't that why the congressional oversight function exists? Don't we have a whole oversight committee which you serve on, which I've served on, which can do that? Do we really need to hire a fourth branch of government called Elon Musk to go out and do it for us? We're about to enter into a budget process right now. We can deal with it ourselves.
And then it happened. That moment. Musk, the guy who could launch rockets, start a car revolution, and tweet his way into any controversy, suddenly found himself on the defensive in a way he'd never experienced before. It wasn't that he was out of ideas, he still had plenty of them, though most of them were vaporware at this point. No, the problem was that he couldn't out-argue Raskin's surgical precision. It was like watching a shark try to wriggle out of a net made of facts. Raskin wasn't throwing punches, he was just patiently tightening the knot. Musk's usual go-to moves, humor, grandiose claims, the "I'm too smart for this" look, weren't working anymore. He was forced to stop, think, and for the first time in what felt like forever, actually acknowledged that the issues at hand weren't as simple as build a cool thing and everything will be fine. The shift didn't just happen in the debate room. It reverberated across the internet. Clips of Raskin's calm, fact-laden responses started popping up everywhere, each one more viral than the last. Raskin had, with quiet brilliance, managed to turn the entire conversation on its head. Social media erupted. Musk's fanboys and fangirls, once blind to any flaw in their hero, were left doing mental gymnastics just to keep defending him. Even they couldn't ignore the cold, unshakable logic Raskin was dropping like an avalanche.
To us, how citizens can sue Elon Musk and Doge, and how 18 U.S. Code 1030 can be applied.
So the first thing to understand, Michael, is we are winning in the courts. And people need to understand that. Judge Gia Cobb in the district court in the District of Columbia just halted their efforts to out thousands, I think 6,000 FBI agents across the country for their involvement in prosecuting January 6th. Judge Kolar Catelli shut down the raid on the Treasury Department.
Suddenly, Musk wasn't the untouchable tech god anymore. He was the guy who had just gotten outsmarted by a politician in a suit. This wasn't just politics and tech clashing, it was like watching an indie film fight a blockbuster. As for Musk, who knows if this moment actually caused him to rethink anything. After all, he's been told he's a genius for so long he could probably convince himself that a potato is the future of AI if he tried hard enough. But here's the thing, he was confronted in a way he never had been before. Raskin didn't throw him softballs, he threw him a hard, fact-packed curveball that Musk couldn't dodge, and that had to sting. Power wasn't just in the tech, it was in the facts, and Musk had just learned that lesson the hard way. And let's be clear, the bigger picture here is massive. Musk may have won millions of followers, but Raskin won the thing that actually matters: respect for knowledge, integrity, and the power of reason. The world is watching, and now, thanks to Raskin, we know exactly how to hold even the most influential figures to account.